Okay. For today, we'll have this Gantt chart. So, pwede ra mag-open mo Excel and follow the steps on how to make this Gantt chart. Actually, I nagbuhat ko Gantt chart but while browsing sa YouTube, nakita mo kog mas interactive na program. So, I want yung kani inyong sundon. And dapat i-save yun ninyo kay nakabaw sa puhon-puhon inig work ninyo gamit kayo ni siya. So from Gantt chart, mao na itong basis po sa itong S-curve. Mao na pinaka-importante sa sabi na sa construction. Kaya nabi ta mag-tanaw sa ito ang progress billing. Okay, so pwede ra mag-open mo Excel. Then we'll have assignment number 5, of course. Due sa assignment number 5, Friday lang siguro. Kaya sa Tuesday, dili ta mag-meet ika Tuesday kay namin meeting sa department. So, I don't know sa meetingan. Masin appeal ang mga scheduling ninyo sa inyong proposal. Kaya hapit na. Then, tama na to. Next, Thursday, dili ta mag-meet but magbilin man ko sheet work. Dili na sheet work. Assignment number 5. So, ang assignment number 5 na to, continuation ra sa assignment number 4. Anyways, ako na siyang i-post po sa module, sa Canvas. Okay, at sa paman. Wala naman concern sa pre-final exam. Awa pa mo ko nag-check. So if maka-open mo Excel, so you can follow kung giyon sa niya pagbuhat ang program for the Gantt chart. Ano mo ba? Mag-dili. Wait, ako sa ibalik. Ang ganito pag-share. Madungog ra? Huy!
No, sir.
Okay. So by the way, start and end naman sa gibutang dates na. So for our dates, matag rasad ko unsa nga date na mag-start. Then ako ipagamit nga start and finish dates katong sa early start ug sa early finish. Dito mo gamit sa late start ug late finish kay lisod na kay kung gamay ra si Piat adto, ma-delay na atong project. So, mas nindot gamiton sa scheduling early start and early finish.
Sure.
Tingnan mo, madungog. Good. O ba? Balik-balik. Ana, madungog. Eso,
The date range or timeline for the chart area. I'll start with November 1st for now. I want to display just the day of the month, so I'll use a custom number format, D. It's important to realize that these cells are storing the full date, but only displaying the day of
dili gyapon maklaro. Okay.
the month.
Balikan tagam.
Next step is to create the date of 3.
So these dates magagad ni sa inyo hang katong early start to early finish.
Then finish the table. The next step is to create the date range or timeline for the chart area. I'll start with November 1st for now. I want to display just the day of the month, so I'll use a custom number format, D. It's important to realize that these cells are storing the full date, but only displaying the day of the month. I want to show the first letter of the day of the week in the cell below the date. First, I'll use the text function to display the abbreviation for the day of the week. Then I'll use the left function to grab just the first letter of that text. Next, I'll merge these 7 cells to display the full date of the first day of the week. Then I need to change the date format back to the default. Now I'm going to select the group of 7 columns and copy it to the right. To make the chart area dynamic, I'll first add a place to enter the project start date. Then I'll link the first cell of the chart area to that date. Then I'll use a formula to add 1 day to each of the next dates. Now when the project start date changes, the chart area will change. When I start formatting, I usually turn the grid lines off. I'll insert a couple rows at the top for a title later. I like table headers that have a dark background with a light font. I'll reduce the font size of the days, then turn on shrink to fit. I'll select the entire worksheet and change the vertical alignment to middle. I'll add some indenting to the tasks. Horizontal borders make a Gantt chart easier to read, so we'll put those in now. I want the project start date to be a longer date format, so I'll merge the cells and make a custom number format. I'll display the day of the week, the day, the month abbreviation, and the full year. I'll add a border to show that this date is meant to be edited. Next, I'll just make the other chart labels a bit more interesting. We can condense things a bit more also. I'll use the Format Painter to copy the formatting to the next 2 weeks. Now for the tricky part. We could add the bars of the Gantt chart by changing the fill color manually, but that's way too time consuming. So instead, we'll use conditional formatting to shade this cell when the date at the top of the column is within the start date and the end date. First, we'll select all these cells and go to Conditional Formatting, New Rule, then use a formula. We'll use the logical function and set this date greater than or equal to the start, comma, the date less than or equal to the end. It's important to create the formula based on the upper left cell in the range. We need to let the columns of the top row change, as well as the rows of the start and end dates. I'll select the purple theme color. And that's it. Actually, we have some more cool stuff to do. So our timeline currently starts on the same day as the project start, but I want it to always start on Monday. First, I'll name cell B3 Project Start using the name box. Then I'll edit this formula to subtract the weekday of the project start. You can press Tab to choose the selected name. We want option 3 where Monday is 0. Now the weeks in the timeline will start on Monday regardless. Some quick cleanup and then I'll add a couple more weeks to the chart. Press Ctrl Spacebar to select the column. Now I'm going to add an input that will let me scroll the Gantt chart. Ctrl D copies down. Then I'll change the label to Display Week. Start with a 1 and center it. Then I'll add the border. Now I'm going to name this cell using the name box. Call it Display Week. Then edit the first date in the timeline again to add the display week -1 times 7. Now when I change the display week, the dates in the timeline will update, making the Gantt chart appear to scroll.
Grammarly is by your side, especially when you have a mountain of work.
The scroll bar form control is in the developer ribbon. To turn on the developer ribbon, go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, then select the developer box. To insert the scroll bar, go to Developer, Insert, and select the scroll bar form control. Then click and drag to draw the scroll bar. Right-click on it to select Format Control. Select the cell to link to, which for us is the display week. Now you can use the scroll bar to change the display. Adding a line to mark today's date is pretty simple. Go to Conditional Formatting, New Rule, use a formula. The formula is just going to be a comparison of the date at the top of the column to the function today. We'll add red borders so we can still see the bars in the chart. Done. On to the next step. After inserting new columns, the Insert Options button gives options for formatting. I'll choose Format Same as Right. So these cells are formatted as dates. So I'll change them back to the general format. This first new column is for who the task is assigned to. I need to turn on wrap text and reduce the font size a bit. This column will be for entering the current progress or % complete. I'm going to use conditional formatting to add progress bars within these cells. These are called data bars. I need to edit the formatting rule to represent 0 to 100%. So I'll set the type to number and set the minimum to 0 and the maximum to 1. And I'll make it gray so it doesn't stand out so much. I need to move these labels now. Cut and paste. I'll add the project title and placeholders for company name and project lead. Represent the progress by shading a portion of the bar with a conditional formatting rule that works essentially like this, where ones are shaded and zeros are not. This is kind of hard to see, so I'll change the font to white. I'm going to create this formula in stages using names to make it easier to read. The date at the top of the column needs to be within the start and end dates. But now the end is calculated by adding the start date plus the days complete minus 1 day. And I need the date row to remain fixed. This formula doesn't work yet because I haven't defined the names. I'll go to Formulas, Name Manager, New, enter Task Start, set the scope to this sheet, then select the Start cell and make the row number relative. I'll create one for Task End as well. These are what we call relative named ranges. I'll create one more for the Task Progress column. Now I need to expand the days complete to finish the formula. This is the task progress times the total days, which is task end minus task start plus 1. I forgot to convert the boolean to ones and zeros. There we go. I'll copy that over and test it out. Looks like it's working, so I'll copy the formula. Go to Home, and I need to hit Escape because I'm still in edit mode. I'll select the range and then add a new conditional formatting rule. Paste the formula, then choose gray fill color. Great, I'll clear these cells, then try it out. The last thing I'll do is define the print settings. A Gantt chart usually works better in landscape orientation. I set margins to narrow, but I want the top and bottom margins smaller, so I'll change them to 1/2 inch. Then change the scaling to fit on 1 page wide, and I don't want to print the scroll bar. With objects like the scroll bar, you can right-click, go to Properties, and uncheck Print Object. Now let's go to Page Layout and set rows to repeat on each page. I'll add page numbers to the footer. Finish with adding my logo. I hope watching this video has helped you learn at least a few new things about Excel. This is the first video of a new series. I'll be creating other useful spreadsheets and showing how to add features to this Gantt chart. So if you want more, remember to subscribe and tell us what you liked.
Let's say you usually spend 3 hours per research, but if you use Liner, you don't have to spend a lot of time on Google search results.
Hello and welcome back. We're going to add some great features to the Gantt chart, like entering workdays, highlighting weekends and holidays, and showing or hiding the weekends. This video covers some advanced Excel topics, and I cover a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, so be ready to pause and rewind as needed. Let's start by inserting a new column to show the number of workdays. To calculate the number of workdays between 2 dates, use the WORKDAYS function. Reference the start date and the end date, and we'll ignore the holiday options for now. I'll copy the formula down and center it. I'd rather have the formula show blank if the dates are blank, so I'll add an if function. If the start date is equal to blank, notice I'm using 2 double quotes to represent blank. Then display a dash, otherwise use the original formula, and copy it down. Now you can see that the first task is 4 workdays, Monday through Thursday. The third task is 3 workdays because WORKDAYS assumes the weekend is Saturday and Sunday. To make it easier to work with days of the week, I'm going to use a custom format for these dates. This will display the weekday abbreviation followed by the month, day, year. But the dates don't fit in the columns now, so I'll turn on the shrink to fit option. We can use a conditional formatting rule to highlight the weekends in this range. We'll use the WORKDAYS function. We'll reference the date in row 5 for both the start and the end date. This will be equal to 0 if the date is the weekend. Instead of a background color, I'm going to use a blue crosshatch. A fill pattern works pretty well for subtly highlighting both the column labels and the chart area. When creating a schedule, I prefer to enter the workdays and let Excel calculate the end date for me. So first, I'm going to copy the workdays, then right-click and go to Paste Values. Next, I'll use the workday function to calculate the end date. I'll choose the start date, workdays, and because this is adding days, I need to subtract one. When I copy the formula up, we get an error because of the blanks, so I'll use the if function again. If the start date is blank, or the workdays is blank, then show a dash. I'll copy the formula down, but you'll see we have a problem with the conditional formatting rule now. This will be a simple fix. Go to Manage Rules and edit the rule. Add the condition that the task start is not blank. Notice that we use less than greater than to represent not equal to. To help identify the columns that use formulas, I like to change the background color. Now I can change the number of workdays to update the chart. The formula won't work as expected if the start date is on a weekend, like this case, where the start date is a Saturday. We'll solve this in the next section. I want to create dependencies so that when I change the project start date, everything updates. I'll start by setting the first task equal to the project start date. This second task starts the same day that the first task is ending. But this one I want to start the next workday after the previous one ends, so I'll use the workday function. The rest will use the same formula, so I'll copy down with Ctrl D, and I'll copy and paste the others, and fix the references by dragging to the correct cell. Even though I'm using formulas, I still consider the start dates to be inputs, because I may want to change them or enter dates manually. Now, everything will update based on the start date. Let's put a list of holidays in a separate worksheet and rename the sheet to Holidays. I'm going to cheat and copy and paste to save some time in the video. Let's create a named range that is just the list of dates. Call it Holiday Dates. This is a great candidate for a dynamic named range. I'll include a link to a video about that in the description. Now I need to update the workday function to include the holiday dates range. I'll copy the formula down and you'll see a couple things change. Let's highlight the holidays using a new conditional formatting rule. This time I will use the match function. Using match, we will check if the date is in the holiday dates range and we'll use 0 as the third argument for an exact match. I'll set the fill color to dark green and the font color to white. Now you can see these holidays highlighted. Next, we need to update the rule that highlights the weekends, adding the named range to the network days function. Now you can see that this task has 3 workdays. The holiday is not counted as a workday. I should now update the workday functions in the start date column to include the holiday range, and I'll do the rest off screen. To define custom weekends in Excel 2010 or later, we can use the .intl or international versions of the Workday and WORKDAYS functions. First, I'll create a Settings tab and use that as a place to define the weekend. And I'll create a quick title and a label. We're going to use the weekend string method, which consists of zeros and ones starting with Monday. Zeros are working days, ones are weekend days. For fun, let's make this a little more interactive so we can easily choose which days are weekends. If Excel had in-cell checkboxes, I'd use them here. Let's use the text join function to quickly concatenate the list. Now it's a little easier to define which days are the weekend. We'll name this cell Weekend Option. We need to update this function to workday.intl, then insert the weekend option argument. Copy that down by double-clicking on the fill handle. Now we need to update the format rule and change network days to the INTL version and add the weekend option. Now we have a simple way to change the weekend. I'll quickly demonstrate by making a few other days into non-working days. Now everything updates automatically. I'll change this back to Saturday and Sunday and then talk about one last thing, how to hide the weekends. The simplest way to hide the weekends is to just hide the columns like this. But that's not very cool. I can't end the video with something lame like that, so let's do something awesome. To make this work, I need to completely change this row of dates. I'm going to change the text orientation and the format of the date, and you'll see why in a minute. These labels are unnecessary now. I'll use the handy clear all command to clear both contents and formatting, and then I'll hide the row for now. Let's add a new option in the settings worksheet. We'll call it show weekends and set the value to true. I'll give it a name of show weekends. Now we'll create the fancy formula that does the trick. Starting with the second date, if the show weekends option is true, then we just add 1 to the previous date. Otherwise, we'll use workday.intl to add 1 workday using the weekend option. Now just copy that to the right. For a fun interactive feature, let's add a checkbox form control. Draw it and rename it to Show Weekends. Then right-click on it and go to Format Control and enter the named range we just created equals Show Weekends. If you appreciate user interaction, something like this is just fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. The next one in this Gantt chart series will be showing how to color code the bars of the chart. So make sure to subscribe and turn.
Okay, that's it. So sa part 3, kaya pwede rin sa ninyo i-tanaw sa YouTube, pwede sa ninyo i-follow. But I only require sa kaning nasa part 1 and part 2 nga video ay satisfy sa inyong program. So I already uploaded assignment number 5. So you have to make an interactive Gantt chart in Excel. So a Gantt chart like this one, the video. using the data from your assignment number 4. So use the early start and early finish durations. Then format the project start date as November 23, 2021. Due date for this assignment is on Thursday na lang. Thursday sa 11:59 p.m. Questions, clarifications? So,
Turn on notifications.
pwede naman mag-start actually bukas. Tapos tayo 30 minutes. Okay, so if no more questions, maybe that's it for today. Mataas na kayo to, dagan na kayo siya data nga gihatag, dagan kayo siya steps. And i-upload na sana ko sa Canvas ang YouTube link. You can view it anytime you want. Okay na? Para pangutada. 5, 4. Lalaki present. So if ano may pangutan na, maybe that's all for today. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mm.